On this week's episode of An Echo of Glory, we have to talk about that defeat of Brighton. The winning run finally comes to an end. We'll also let you know about an exciting interview with a former, and current Spurs legend. Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. We are still smiling despite defeat against Brighton. Joining me, Ollie Spiro.
Morning.
And Jake Saunders.
Morning.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. I was better at 5:15 yesterday.
Yeah.
Not at 5:06, probably 5:50 it was, weren't it?
Yeah. Well, earlier. About 5:45, we probably knew.
Yeah, 5:45.
Yeah.
First goal we knew.
Yeah, we knew. Oliver, how are you feeling this morning?
The sun is shining.
Yep.
The birds are singing.
Yeah. We've 5 wins from
And
6.
we don't play
We're
for
fine,
2
we're
games.
fine.
We
We
don't
don't
play
for
for
2
2
weeks.
weeks.
Honestly, 5:15. It was all good. And yeah, less said about after that, the better.
Well, that would be a very short pod, so but we're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Let's start with the club news. 24 goals across the club's academy and senior teams this week. The 18s beat United 4-3. They 4 up, nearly blew it. 3 late goals from United, but they beat Man United 4-3. 21s went off down to South London to play Arsenal. 2-0 down, won 5-2. That's a lot of fun. The women lost 3-2 to Liverpool. I've got to be careful on this show when I talk about referees. I saw one of the worst refereeing decisions in that game. I only clicked on to the last 10 minutes. Spurs were in possession. Liverpool player was offside. Spurs were about to break down the left, and the referee called it back for a free kick because the Liverpool player was offside. No need. We were in possession on the counter. We were on top. We then took the free kick. Remember we talked about that Man United free kick from a few years ago when they took the free kick and the referee didn't like that Man United had taken the free kick. We took the free kick in possession. Referee said, I didn't want you to take it from there. I want you to take it 3 yards to the left. We got a bit frazzled, lost the ball from that free kick. Liverpool went forward, got a penalty that was never a penalty and won the game. Bizarre. They didn't actually deserve to win, but they lost. And then another team lost 3-2. The men's team.
Imagine being 2-0 up and then throwing it away.
So I have to be honest, I didn't see the game. I've seen it back since. I didn't see it live. And I feel when you don't see it live, you're not invested as much.
Doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah. So I spent last evening hosting a charity sports quiz, and there were a lot of Spurs fans in the room, and they're all coming up to me looking like they've just done 12 rounds with Mike Tyson, really battered, mentally battered and bruised. And I was like, I'm all right because I've not seen this. Okay, I've watched it back last night. I know what happened, but I don't feel I was as mentally there. Let's start with the positives, shall we? Well, let's do the team first of all.
Unchanged.
Yeah, really easy. Unchanged for Man United. Is that correct? Would you have done anything else, Ollie?
Well, it's whether we come on to this later, but they brought back Udogie and whether he was really fit enough to play. And that's where we were stretched. And then you'll come back to the sort of Werner Moore sort of query. That was really the only two that seemed to rattle through. And both players were exposed actually, but I'm not sure what other options we have. That's a greater issue.
Jake, lineup, you were like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I still would have played Werner, and I think playing Werner was almost justified after 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because, and I know he completely screwed up the cross when he should have played Johnson in, but I know a lot of fans would have gone with Moore, but I still would have just gone with Werner, although he's nowhere near good enough and he shouldn't be starting for us.
I think 20 out of 20 Premier League managers and beyond would have gone with Werner.
And I know he was really frustrating, but he set up the second goal, and his pace against that high line did serve us pretty well, I'd say. As frustrating as he was, and I know, second half's different. They get the first goal, and he should have taken him off a lot earlier. But I think in the first half, it was fine with him, and we wouldn't have got that out of Mikey Moore, despite Moore being much more technically better and a lot more composure. But I don't think it would have been the same with Moore.
I think what will Werner's frustration in the second half, but I think Udogie was the bigger issue. Actually, that's what really cost us. But actually, both players cost us.
Yeah.
But the first half was first half was like similar to how we've played in recent weeks with the wins. Really, really good going forward. But I know our XG against is fine and it's good and all that sort of stuff. Brighton still had chances. You're going to get chances against this team.
Went Mr. Sitter.
From an unbelievable Mitoma cross. And that sort of comes back to my comment about imagine, I said in one of my WhatsApp groups, imagine if you swap the two left wingers over and we had Mitoma and they had Werner, how much that elevates our team.
Yeah.
And this is part of, we have a transfer policy. We are looking to bring in players younger. You've got the, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, sorry, but the guy from Korea who's obviously coming in, he's a left winger. Odebear can play kind of across the three positions, but I think he's a left winger. Still got Son, obviously.
Listen, Son played yesterday. It was probably a different outcome.
But you're going to get injuries.
Yeah,
that's part of football.
But we said before, last season our injuries seemed to be in the defensive situation areas of the team. At the moment, they're like in the forwards. Like Richarlison's just okay. He might be coming back soon. Odebert's injured. Son's injured.
Killed us. That injury's killed us, hasn't it?
What has it?
But then we don't know how good he is. And I think this is it's always a sort of recency bias of we've signed him, he must be good. So,
no, but I just mean in terms of
numbers.
These last few weeks having an option. If Son's out for another 3 weeks, we're just going to have to persist with Werner.
Yeah,
unless he wants to somehow play Richarlison there, which I don't really see happening.
Well, look, if you again, we can come on to this later, but I put on our group last night saying we were very critical of the second half performance. I'm not really sure what real option we had on the bench that was going to come. But we'll come to it. Certainly from an attacking perspective, there was no one.
Because of the players injured at the moment of forwards on the whole. Listen, I've put a great first half. At times, it was great. Johnson,
very good first half.
Yeah, very good first half. Johnson scores again, 6 from 6. Again, slightly different goal.
You missed out Ole Ole.
What?
That's a song, Johnson.
All right, sorry. Again, we talked about all those tap-ins he scored. He's starting to score different goals now. That was a really nice running behind, left foot.
2 left-footers in a row.
So that to me had a... remember the Chadley goal away to Arsenal at the very beginning of Pochettino when we pressed really high, but not only did we press and win the ball, we knew where the next 2 passes were going. And it had that feeling about it. So... not only do we have a right winger on form, but we had a team at that moment that knew what they were doing.
It's definitely
knew
clicking
when the press was going to take. They knew exactly the triggers, but then equally knew where the ball was going. Solanke did brilliantly well. His great pass, perfectly weighted, and he knew that Johnson was going to make the angled run in. So that was, to me, one of the highlights of the whole game, because you can sit there and say that is definitely something that has been worked on. There's a definite progression.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens necessarily with Richarlison there, because of the quality of the turn, and then I can't remember exactly who pressed it, but just the whole
Maddison won it back.
It was Maddison, but the whole pressing unit worked perfectly.
I think that's clicking now.
Yes.
Or has clicked. I don't have an issue with that now. Johnson 6 from 6. He's played 60 games for Spurs. He's got 6 from 6 already. Kane did it twice in 435 appearances for the club. If Johnson was to score against West Ham on the 19th of October, he would be the first person to score in 7 consecutive appearances for Tottenham since.
Well, I heard it on commentary.
Oh, all right then.
Not
Kane. Never did it.
Yeah, you want to go back to a striker who had a really, really, really good season.
Before the Premier League. Before football existed.
Yeah.
Probably
before.
49 goals?
Yeah, there you go.
How many did he score? Clive
Allen scored 7 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9 goals in 7 games. We then lost at home to QPR on the 25th of October 1986, and his run stopped. So yeah, he was the last person.
Perfect.
London Derby.
Yeah, he's
fair
play to him, because I know he's got a lot of stick. I've been so defensive of him. I've wanted more from him because I know he's not good enough, but I've wanted him to do so well for so long. I know we always used to have a bit of a debate about it on here. And fair play to him, because a lot of players, the whole Instagram stuff, a lot of players could have gone hiding, and he's gone completely the opposite way.
Listen, Instagram stuff, as an aside, is awful. And it's obviously his found some inner strength from it. But it's not just been that. He's been working on it. Like
he's been even the chance. Sorry to interrupt. Even he had that chance which he should have scored right at the end of the first half. But even the way he got into that position, if that was a month ago, a ball gets played through, the defender sort of muscles him off the ball. We've seen that plenty of times, and he was like, no. I'm having this. And, he should have put it away and he didn't. But fair play to him. He's been brilliant. He's playing with so much confidence. Not just the goals as well. There was lovely little triangles with Maddison and Kulu down that right and Porro. Really nice one-touch, two-touch, intricate football.
But I think it's also part of the cohesive unit on the right-hand side of Kulusevski dropping back into that midfield position, Solanke as well being up top. And I think actually that part of the pitch is looking quite a good unit. I don't think the left-hand side at the moment can stake that claim. So you sit there and think the two real changes to our team from last season to this season are Kulusevski dropping into midfield and Solanke coming in up top. So, and then when that works, it works really well. I think we still have to appreciate it's early days, but when it's working, it's really working well.
I think we've got to touch on Solanke. He didn't actually have a chance. He didn't have a sniff at goal yesterday, but he looked $1 million at times. He was really sort of, opening up. It reminded me of Kane a bit, opening up the game, picking up the ball, and then his weight of pass is absolutely lovely. I think he played the ball to Werner for the Maddison goal. He played the ball to Johnson for his goal. I think that's 5 goals and 5 assists in his last 5 games. Maybe in the last 4 games, he looked really good.
It's a goal involvement.
And his hold up play is brilliant. I didn't know how technically good he was, and he's absolutely brilliant. And I think we've got hopefully a real good in there.
There was also again we'll talk about game management, but just before half time, he about 35 yards from our own goal. Ball comes in back, facing our own goal, wins the free kick. I was like, I've seen that before. But again, it's that's the sensible thing to do. And right, lads, get up.
We've got to manage him properly now. Have to manage him properly.
Well, but the problem is we haven't got any.
I know, but don't want to see him in that Europa League game in a couple of weeks. Doesn't have to play him in that Man City game, but.
Charlison will surely be back.
Or Lancashire again in the home game. We have to protect Solanke.
We've got Charlison as a reserve, which is not terrible.
Cannot get injured now. Not that he could have before, but cannot afford to get him to get injured at all.
No. AZ just lost away to Fortuna Sittard. Who are they? We should be beating AZ without Solanke.
Yeah. Anyway, but yesterday, so. The first half performance was good. You're playing against a decent Premier League team, especially on the ball, and we were really good on the ball ourselves, and we pressed really well, and they couldn't cope with it. It was a very, very cohesive first half. Yes, they had a couple of chances, but you'd expect that within a Premier League away game against an established Premier League team, apart from Man United. But it was overall a good half. We were bossing possession. We were bossing the sort of press in there. We were clearly running more. We were winning on every stat. And
so
obviously
what happened? Listen,
but then remember the very end of, and this is another theme. Football matches can often be decided by moments and themes that change in a game. You mentioned Johnson's chance just before half time. That's on 43-44. If you ignore half time and ran it through continuously, we've missed a chance to go 3-0 up, and then they score a minute after half time to come back to 2-1. And football matches can change for all of the tactics and should have made a sub, he made a sub, this and react 3-0 to 2-1 is a huge mental swing. Not that I think that we should be sort of giving them excuses about that, but football can change so quickly.
You also have to give credit to the opposition. Far too often we pinpoint our errors, and there were plenty, and we go on about what Ange should have done and blah, blah, blah. Brighton turned the game around, and they're entitled to do so, and they're a good Premier League team. I just don't think... At 2-1, we're all sitting there going, here we go. What do we think could have been done at that point? Is there more we can do? Is it Ange? Who are we blaming here? We've got to pick the bones out of this. Blame might be the wrong word, but we have to sit here and pick the bones out of this. we could all see it coming. Someone on the pitch, is there a lack of leadership?
Can I take a step back? They made a sub at half time. Estupiñán came on.
Yeah.
But was it a straight swap? I'm sort of don't know. I mean, Brighton literally could have any number of players I've never, ever heard of in my life who turned out to be amazing. But
he came on.
He came on at half time, and it really closed off our right hand side.
Came on for Kadioglu, who was playing left back.
Okay, so they made a straight swap, but potentially they've
tweaked
somewhat, and Estupiñán, I think, is quite a physical guy and quite strong and fast and maybe a bit more likely to keep up with Johnson. Although we did have a couple of breaks down the right hand side, but so their manager makes a sub at half time. I think the Bentancur was a point of concern even in the first half. He'd made some sloppy passes. That we'd got away with. He'd made a couple of turns on the edge of our box where he got caught. So potentially someone ultra proactive may have changed him for Bissouma, and increased the intensity again, because I think we'll come back to this word intensity. And you look at change the first half to the second half, and it's come after 3 weeks of
for sure.
Sunday, Thursday, and Brighton have played 2 games when we played 4. And I think that does play a part of it. So the question is about proactive management, and their manager was, I think, it's a very fashionable thing for young managers to be ultra proactive and energetic on the sideline, and Ange is very reserved on the sideline. But the question is proactive management and what could he have done differently.
We've all played in games at whatever level, and I know you'll say, you've never played at the highest level. Of course I haven't, but you've all played in games where you've gone, we're up against it here, and you're looking around thinking someone needs to grab the ball by the horns, and not every player has that capability of doing so. Do you think at times like that we lack a leader?
Yeah, we leader and game management is a concern in away games, and I'm not talking. These are not hostile atmospheres, Brighton's, and no disrespect, Leicester's, but we when we're up against it, one thing goes against us, and that's what I feared at half time. I said to you before, I said to someone at half time, we could win this game 5-0 or still lose it, because one thing goes against us when we're so fragile. And from the moment they scored, that was it. That was it. We couldn't.
Fragility's the word.
We couldn't regain any. We couldn't get back into the game. There was no, concede. You see proper top teams concede a goal. You can concede a goal from a mistake. It happens, and you compose yourself. You win a few fouls. You get yourself high up the pitch. You get back into the game. You get on the ball again. But we just didn't allow that to happen, and it was that mad, chaotic period. And then all of a sudden it's 2-2, and then it's like, well, we've just chucked the game away.
Well, you have this perception of Romero being a potential leader and a fighter, and I don't think there's any doubt in that. But I'm not sure on the quality of his English. Potentially, maybe he listens, and potentially he'd sort of write in and tell us he's perfect, speaks perfect
English.
Well,
you pointed out the other day they had a huddle when he was captain, but he didn't do the.
But Maddison was even Maddison did the speech at half time. I noticed that yesterday. So I don't think his English is that great. I don't see Son as a natural leader. I mean, in fairness, you look at a lot of the other top teams now, and do they have the
Graham Roberts type?
Now there are a couple of examples I was going to pick from other clubs around London that do spring to mind, and I'm not going to even mention their name. But that's type. And we certainly don't have that. But I'm not sure how prevalent that is in the game today. The captain of that other team from a few miles away, very passive. He's not a shouter at all.
True.
But we certainly lack leadership at some point. I think it's a theme that we've spoken about. Game management certainly, and I think we've all seen these themes in the games, that between about 55 minutes and about 70-ish minutes, we seem to take whether it's a conscious thing, it's a fitness thing, we take our foot off the pedal. And that's when I'll often be texting you saying we're ragged, the passing's gone off, they're making those mistakes. And whether that is the point when we need to be making more proactive subs at that point, or slowing the game down, the game management thing, win the fouls, call a team talk, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe that comes later.
The dark arts.
whatever you can do to erode that period down.
I think yesterday was subs. I think we need to take the sting out of the game with all that stuff, but also subs. And I know you'll say, what did we have? The bench wasn't great, certainly in forward areas. But at that point, it wasn't forward areas I was that concerned about. Get Basuma on.
He could have. So
Spence as well.
I just don't think he likes. We talked about this earlier. I just don't think he likes him.
And I hate to disappoint Gary Diamond, but who is global chair of the Spence fan club. And I would like to say this idea, Spence is brilliant. So we've never really seen it. Timo Werner's played more minutes this season for Spurs than Jed Spence has, and that's under a few managers. He's clearly not fancied. He was out the door this summer.
Not in a Europa League squad.
Not in Europa League squad, which we suffered from again this week because Udogie had to play the week before.
He had to play though,
but then
we had no choice.
Exactly.
Ben Davis weren't in the squad, so there was no.
So this is squad management, which goes back to the summer.
Porro's played every game.
Porro then played 3 games this week, and you're coming up against a team that has good good fast wingers. You've got Mitoma, who's a nightmare, and
they've also had a week off.
And the goals have had a week off, and the goals have come from the flanks on the whole. And our fullbacks, I think, we cannot afford to have a squad of 22 amazing players who are all interchangeable. That shouldn't really be economically viable for us or any club. But I think there are certain positions in our team that I believe are non-negotiables, and our fullbacks, I believe we should have 4.
We all said it. We
amazing four options that can be changed at any point and rotated, and you're essentially you're all first choice. And again, another narrative I'd like to get rid of totally is this idea. Well, we've got the back 5, you can't improve upon them. That's sort of come through this theme. Well, remember this back 5 conceded 60 odd goals in the Premier League last season. It's defending better this season. I appreciate back 5s do take time, but not one of them gets in a global best team. No. They can all be improved upon.
Someone said to me yesterday during the game, Arsenal fan, he said, this was not sarcastic, he said, for all the good defenders you've got, they make a hell of a lot of mistakes.
And it's so
true.
You can totally upgrade on any of them. Mickey Van Ven, you may not be able to upgrade on him in terms of pace. He might be the fastest defender in the world, but in terms of heading ability, there are plenty of better headers out there than him. They
were all at fault yesterday.
Yeah, they were all
at fault for all the Ange should have made the subs and game management. The first goal was just basics. It's just basic.
I think yesterday
2 players, just basic mistakes.
I know people cannot wait for me to come out here and say this was on Ange. I think it's partly to do with him. He's the manager of the buck. People say the buck lies with Daniel Levy. Listen, whatever. Daniel Levy wasn't the reason we lost 3-2 yesterday. Okay, maybe the squad, blah, blah, blah. But yesterday, in that moment, for me, yesterday's on the players.
Players have just got to take responsibility.
Well, they've all believed that we have one problem, a big problem in this club, which comes through from us, the fans. We believe our own hype so quickly.
I think every football club, for every fan.
But has there been a hype, though?
I don't believe. I don't.
Oh, yeah, we know. But
has there been a hype?
5 wins?
Beating Brentford as poor Man United team, a championship team, and 2 European minnows.
Yeah, but we were all getting a bit excited.
No, we were enjoying it, but we weren't making out as if we. I was enjoying it.
We were enjoying
it. Brighton was, Brentford was fun, United was fun, but we weren't like. I personally wasn't thinking we were world beaters. I knew I went into yesterday's game thinking we could definitely lose here.
Of course,
definitely you can lose any
game. I mean, I despise olaying in the ground. There are plenty of people that know they love doing it just to annoy me. Have you never watched Spurs before? You're olaying sort of at 38 minutes. Like,
do you know what? I actually blame someone in my office because they said Brennan Johnson 6 and 6. Yeah, we've got to put that on the back.
No, I blame.
We've got to put that on the back page, and then it was Ange. on the back page saying this was the worst defeat in my reign. So as soon as that happened, I thought,
I blame my cousin Jake who messaged me saying, "Isn't this lovely?" at 2-0. I was like, "Well done, mate."
Yeah.
Even before they'd scored, I was like, "This is on you."
But they have the team come out thinking they'd done the job.
But Maddison said it. Maddison's quotes were, we spoke about it in the dressing room, like anyone would. Whoever you are, 2-0 up in an away game, you speak about it. Do not concede early because you know what can happen. If we go 3-0 up, the game's done. You concede 1 goal, the whole ground turns. And they know with us specifically, as we've mentioned, more times than anyone.
We haven't mentioned it. We're going to mention it.
More times than anyone.
But
we're
if you get by hook or by crook to about 60 odd minutes, we probably go on and win the game.
Fans start to get a bit restless. They chuck on a few more subs.
Yes.
I bet we go and win that game if we get to 2-0 on 60 minutes.
Yeah, and you probably look at the laws of probability. And if you were into gambling, which we obviously don't.
Why are you looking at me?
You said Brighton was 66 to 1
That's
to win.
what I heard on the radio.
And by 60 minutes, they would have been probably 166 to 1 to win.
No, I remember the lot down the road. Do you remember they drew 3-0 with Southampton? They were 2-0 down on 85 minutes. I took a couple of quid on like 400 to 1. They got back to
Brighton.
No, Arsenal v Southampton.
Oh
yeah, that was.
And it was unbelievable. But if you do what something, you watch the odds, and you can imagine those odds as Brighton had they been at 45 minutes versus at 65 minutes. But even if it's 66 to 1, that is suggesting this does not happen often in the Premier League. So you have to have a number of stars aligning for this collapse to happen. And I think we've got a number of things going on. I think they've had an emotional long 3 away games in the week in the absolute pissing rain. All 3 games were really shit conditions. We have not been able to rotate enough from strong enough positions. So Porro's played 270 minutes plus injury time in the week, and he's up against Matoma on yesterday. And I think suddenly you're like, it's
I'm sorry, but all the Champions League teams did the same. All of them.
They're better.
Arsenal played the same team 3 weeks in a row, basically.
Let's be real, they're better.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about better. You're talking about tiredness and travelling. City were in
Bratislava. Remember,
Arsenal were at home in all 3 games. I completely get that.
A couple of weeks before, when they had us, they played away to us. They played away to who were they?
City.
No, was it Atalanta?
Yeah,
Atalanta, and then
to be fair, they did look a bit leggy.
They almost collapsed on all. They could have lost all 3 games. They obviously they missed a penalty. City could, whatever it was. We're not quite good enough.
I know
to get
City
that
have got a different squad, but we're
not quite good enough to get over that half period at the end of the game. And it could have been a really lucky second half where actually Udogie, the guy misses the chance that when Udogie makes a mistake at 2-1 it stays at 2-0. It's like, okay, we've had our little let off. Not that we do it because we start passing out from the bat, but we could have got over the line by luck, or we could have sat back a bit. You could have changed the way we played. We've gone 2 centre midfielders to hold and actually think about it. That's up to the manager. But there are ways that we could have got over the line. We didn't quite get there. So you could sit there and be positive about the idea that actually we're further along and actually here are the tweaks we need to make, or you can be bloody annoyed, which I am.
I'm in both camps. Yeah. Like I said, the people are waiting for me to sit here and go, "Oh, Ange out," which I never said ever. But we're entitled to pick the bones out of defeats, as we are entitled to sit there and rejoice at wins. Like you said, we knew we weren't well beaters. We were enjoying it, and we will positively pick the bones out of wins, and we will negatively pick the bones out of defeats. And when you're 2-0 up and you lose 3-2, well, it's the 10th time it's happened to Tottenham Hotspur in Premier League history, more times than any other team. But we have been in the Premier League more than pretty much every other team.
But Johnny, that suggests 10 times in 32 years of Premier League football. That's doesn't happen often. So the narrative of 2-0 is the most dangerous score. Well, the stats, Mr. Blaine, would be very different to that.
Do you want to? We tried to go through on the WhatsApp earlier all the other 9 defeats from 2-0 up in Tottenham Hotspur's history. Care to have a go? I've got them here. I have to say, courtesy of Ali Tweedale, Opta Analyst, sent me this. A credit to them for sending me the list.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with the random one, which is, I remember being at White Hart Lane back in the day. I think it was sort of mid-90s, and we were 2-0 up against Villa. Sean Teal, I remember scoring a brilliant own goal for, I think, an Andy Gray cross. But anyway,
this is 15th of April 2000.
No.
No, sorry.
Way before that.
There was 2 against Villa.
No. We lost 5-2. I think you've mentioned this game on the pod before
because were
you on holiday?
This is the one. I'm going to check the times of that game because that was when I was coming back from America and the pilot told us to score.
We had 2000 against Villa, didn't we? 4-2 as well.
They scored 4 of the greatest goals you've ever seen.
Was that when Carboni scored?
Carboni scored an overhead kick. Alan Wright scored an absolute worldie. Yeah. Dion Dublin scored a brilliant goal. I think did Dublin score the overhead?
2. Dublin scored, the overhead. It was
Oliver. That game. What year do you think that was? Your Villa game.
Early to mid-90s.
Yeah, you're right. It was. Just play some hold.
I've got AST shirt in my mind.
We were 2-0 up. We weren't 2-0 up at half time. It was 2-2 at half time.
Oh,
yeah, but we're just talking 2 goals.
Is it not?
This is half time.
Oh, is it got to be 2-0 at half time?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise the rules of engagement.
No, hang on. Tottenham losing after leading by 2+ goals.
No, it's 2. The 10th
time that wasn't a Premier League game. That was April '92.
Oh, look at.
But the stat is not 2-0 up, not 2-0 up half. It's 2 goals up. We were 1-0 up, but 3-1 up.
Okay, the most famous one is obviously United 3-0, and then losing 5-3.
Yep. So you got that. You got the Villa 4-2 when they scored 4 absolute worldies. You obviously got yesterday.
Arsenal when we were 2-0 up and lost 5-2.
Yep.
Burnley, which was probably the most least significant Premier League game we've ever played.
They were all drunk. After we got
Modric still scored a beautiful
absolute
goal,
belter, yeah.
After getting the most irrelevant game.
I remember we celebrated at my mate's house and we had lasagna for lunch. It was like a sort of arc of redemption.
Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3.
Was there one recently in the last
4, 5 left? I think.
Decade?
Yeah, City.
Oh yeah,
City with the one that weird game in
Thursday night,
New Year around. Was it January 23?
Yeah, January 23. Yeah.
Yep. There is another Man United game 5-2.
Oh yes, we spoke about last week. We were done over by
Carrick
Howard
and Gomez.
Yeah.
Howard Webb. There is to the early ones 4-3 against Chelsea in February '94. That was
so that's the Andy Gray double penalty.
Yep. May '99, Liverpool lost 3-2. That Postiga? No. Wait. Don't remember that. And one again, I don't remember Fulham. Was that at Loftus Road?
Yes, you and I were there.
Sylvan Legwinski.
11th of September 2002.
Yes, that was Robbie Keane.
We were top of the league. We were like top of the league for like 5 minutes.
I think that was Sheringham Anderson.
But Robbie Keane was on the bench, and you and I were sat at the very top of the away stand at Loftus Road.
Awful place.
And it was like a sort of we John and I, being the interesting guys that we are, discussing the fire hazard, because if you remember, the top row has seats, but then either side's got pillars, so you have to climb over to get out the row. So that was a great concern, but it was under Hoddle and we lost 3-2.
Sheringham scored, I remember.
And did Ziga score?
No, Inamoto scored for them.
Inamoto definitely scored for them.
I think Legwinski scored.
And
probably Malbronk.
Isimovic missed an open goal at 2-0.
No. That was at White Hart Lane.
No, I was in Australia at that point.
Really?
Isimovic was at the lane.
Someone missed a tap-in at the back post.
Anyway, you and I are more concerned about fire safety at Loftus Road.
I'm sorry, I'm finding this game now. Again,
there's a theme here. They all seem to happen away. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, but that is likely
to win 2-0
away
in an away game.
The most fun 2-0. I mean, we drew the game 2-2. The most fun one I can think of happening at White Hart Lane was, and I think it's been mentioned here before, but we were playing Bolton Wanderers in that 97, 98, and we went 2-0 up. I think Chris Armstrong scored like a brilliant goal from an Ian Walker assist, and we were 2-0 up, and I think we were going, if we weren't going top of the league, we were going close, and obviously it's mid-90s where you could dare be that sort of dreaming of getting top of the league. And then someone had spotted Naeem sitting in the West Stand. Yeah. So suddenly on the big jumbotron, the announcer was like, in the middle of the game, everyone, it's Naeem. So it says party atmosphere at White Lane, and then Bolton scored 2, and we drew 2-2.
When was this Fulham game? I can't find it.
2001, I reckon.
This is really boring for our listeners, but I'm still looking for it.
But either way, it's
11th of September 2002.
But I think one of the themes we have to go back to, apart from this gallows humour, but we have to go back to the lack of the loss of intensity in the team. And if you think about the press that we were so successfully doing in the first half, and Brighton were really struggling to cross the halfway line. In the second half, we were way off that. And if you've got a couple of players that their intensity drops from that, the whole thing.
But they're tracking all that stuff.
The whole thing falls apart. So
they're tracking all that stuff, and I just feel like
78 minutes is way too late.
I feel like he should have changed it.
Simovic had a powerful header ruled out for offside
in the Fulham game.
The Fulham pressure was gradually increasing, and although Howes headed just wide, Imanoto managed to haul one back with 22 minutes left.
Yep. Malbronk penalty, and then Legwinski 90
They were undone in injury time as Legwinski burst through the centre of the defence to beat Keller
and talking about redemption arcs as well. And it's a game we lost 3-2, having been 2-0 up. And this is Gary Diamond's big moment because Gary and I went to Coventry away in about 95.
Yeah.
We were 2-0 up and then lost 3-2 at Highfield Road.
Dean Austin got locked in a toilet and we started the second half with 10 men.
So I feel that Gary going there a couple of weeks ago to see us win 2-1 at the very end was...
And this is why people who have seen what happened yesterday, people who've been supporting Spurs because they're younger, they will never understand what we went through. Maybe they're starting to understand it now.
Well, I'm wearing like green today as a homage to I really don't like this kit. And the 90s was an era of awful kits as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Listen, we got 7 worst points after 7 matches since 2 points from 7 games under Ramos.
But the feeling's very different.
Feeling is very different. I'm just doing the stats.
I saw something really funny on Twitter yesterday where a guy said, he was hammering Ange and he said, this is terrible. 13 points from 7 games. What a shocking start. And someone goes, no, it's 10 points from 7 games, mate. And he said, shit, I was looking at the live table. 13 points from 7 is fine. 2 points a game is pretty much
I think
a very good season.
I think they are on the whole they were playing good, 45 minutes, we were playing good football and we could have gone 3-0 up, and the whole thing is very different. What's disappointing is our inability to sort of get a second wind and try and get back into the game. I don't think the option. Don't know enough about tactics to know what we could have done, but there were certainly players that I think should have been coming off, and those were Udogie, Bentancur, and Werner. But then I'm never a believer that you change like for like and it's going to do anything different. So something tactically maybe needed to change. But there's one thing that is coming through, that when we fall behind and need to re-engage in the game and try and get some chances, we're not getting
but
that second
we
win.
seem to, over the years, we're fine at 1-0 down. We've had so many times where we can't, but we seem to play. I guess the sort of, you play with a little bit less pressure when you're 1-0 down. But the difference between the way we played like a 1-0 down against Brentford or a 1-0 down against, loads of times we came back under Ange, to when we're 2-1 up is so. We struggle so badly from one setback. Our inability to respond from one setback is scary.
And I think that's where the leadership on the pitch comes in. There's a bit of a divide between Spurs fans at the moment. You're either in. It's everything's so black and white at the moment. It seems like, certainly on social media, you're either Ange in or you're Ange out. Let's have a very quick overview of where we are. Look, I've said it before twice on this show already. We're happy when we win, and we won 5 in a row, and we delighted in that, and we looked at it. And, there were some moments in those games that weren't great, but there were some brilliant moments in those games. If we can't be annoyed when you're 2-0 up and lost 3-2, then when can you as a football fan? I don't want him sacked. Nobody really wants him sacked. But where are we? We've got an international break coming up. As you said the other day, it gives you like a chance to have like a helicopter view of where we are. Where are you?
I think there's a certain amount of realism that we have to have. We are still early days in this notional project. There are signs of improvement. There are halves like the second half yesterday. And I think we just have to appreciate that. We've been quite nostalgic today for one reason or another. And what's different to really what we've ever been like? We are not elite, but we're better than 99% of other teams. And we're going to have moments where it all falls apart. We're going to have moments where we play really good football.
Yeah, I said last week it's going to peak and it's going to trough.
And I think this football is quite all or nothing. Weirdly, it's intense, but it will have its moments where it falls off. Maybe those moments that fall off start to be eroded away as we get better and better. So if you think about the makeup of the squad, I still think there are 7 or 8 players who are not going to be on this journey. And there are certain players that I think are deemed untouchable today that, if not improved upon, can certainly have direct competition. And I'll throw in an Udogie into that. And we're still early days, and we have good days, we're going to have bad days. And if you're willing to sit there and accept the good days, then you've also got to accept that we're going to have the bad days.
Someone said I was reading a thread on social media, on Twitter, it's quite a good thread. People weren't throwing their toys out the pram. And someone just say, listen, like I just said, when you're 2 up and you lost 3-2, that's a concern. And this person gave a couple of other concerns. Someone just replied, don't worry, it's all fine. It's all going to be fine. But what is fine under Ange? Like, where do we... Listen, James, the producer, said before, would you take 17th and winning the Europa League? Absolutely. Yeah, listen, I don't
think we'll finish 17th.
No, I don't think we'll finish 17th. I don't want to lose all those games to finish 17th, but God, I'd love to win the Europa League, and we absolutely can. But what is fine maybe this season, on the assumption we might not win a trophy, let's just say we don't win a trophy, where do we have to be?
The cups feel more important every year. Every year that run goes on, they feel more important. But this year, I think we've seen in the first 7 games in a very difficult but winnable set of fixtures. We've obviously gone to Old Trafford and Newcastle, which are probably 2 of the easier, harder away games. We have not gone to Liverpool, Chelsea and City and Arsenal. And we've had an inviting set of home games, playing an Arsenal team who had, arguably their best 2 players out. But I think this is what we're going to get. I think it's important to stay around that sort of 4th to 7th. And then if we're in the Cups, the season will look a lot better. I think I was just thinking this in my head, right? The international break's in a month. I think we've got 5 home games, right? I know you said, was it you that said the other day have Arsenal ever played away? Yeah. and it's the opposite now. We've got 5 home games. We've got 3 in the Premier League. We've got City and we've got AZ.
So before the next international break, which comes after Ipswich,
6 games, right?
So we're home to West Ham, home to AZ, away to Palace, home to City in the Cup, home to Villa, away to Galatasaray, home to Ipswich.
Okay, well, but those 7 games feel crucial. That feels like a really important, Villa, West Ham, Ipswich, Palace. You can't really ask for more.
Yeah, listen, he's not beaten Chelsea or West Ham. He's not won a big London derby yet.
That is real big, and we could have a League Cup quarter-final and, 3 or 4 points, we should be through in Europe.
The clocks have not even gone back yet. The season has, we're still in sort of touchy-feely early season thing. So the season starts really after this international break, in my view. I think we could finish anywhere between, I think, 4th and 8th or 9th. I think 4th is going to be a push. I think the squad is going to get stretched by Europa.
It's between us, Chelsea, and whoever else wants it.
I think we struggle as fans because we had 5 years where it was like, oh my God, we got to be in the top 4. We're panicking when we fell a few. I think we need to lower our expectations. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be targeting 4th or we shouldn't be targeting top, but we need to lower our expectations. And we could be sitting here in a month's time going into that international break with a League Cup quarter-final and the best team out of it. I know that's easier said than done. And some really inviting Premier League games and being, probably in the top 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you need to be in the Europa League. Yeah. And I'd say that would have been a pretty good start to the season. If we're on 20 points after 11 games and in the League Cup quarter-finals, I would have bit your hand off for that.
But there'll be people within the club who will be talking about top 4, even more so than winning the Europa League.
But the Europa League gets you that.
I think the problem about the Europa
from a potentially a financial reward perspective, because you get way more
for finishing 4th. Yeah,
the Europa League's such a difficult one because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. If we won it would be great, but really, as long as we don't do anything stupid, which we seem to do quite often, the Europa League doesn't get serious for 6 months. We could just put it to one side. So it's like, Spurs should be prioritising the Europa League, but not really. We've got 25 league games until the last 16 game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and there's no benefit of finishing 1st or 8th.
That's what I mean.
So anywhere in that top 8 is fine. God knows how many points that equates to. But I think that we are where we are. And
we need to beat West Ham.
It's interesting that because so far this season the results have almost mirrored. But other than winning at Old Trafford last season, beat Everton at home, lost at Newcastle, lost at home to Arsenal, beat Brentford at home, drew at United, lost at Brighton. In the West Ham and Villa, they beat us, didn't they, last year at home? And not that it means it's going to happen, but you want to see that improvement, and we've got to win those games.
West Ham.
Yeah, 12. We're the first game, aren't we, on the back of the international break?
We need to come and make a nice little statement.
I can't really think of their team. They don't have that many. Yeah, they do.
They've got some really good attacking players, but they're fragile.
Well, have they got better attackers than we do?
No.
They do.
Bowen's just coming into bit.
Bowen and Kudus are brilliant.
Oh, Kudus, yeah.
Kudus is
Paqueta's a good player.
Antonio always turns.
They are a Premier League club. Of course, they're going to have some decent players. You can't sit there and think we're just going to just beat any team. But we've got to just get ourselves into a run in the groove.
But while it was great beating Coventry and Carabao, we are 3 defeats from 5 in the Prem, 2 wins. We can't go on and lose to West Ham.
3 in 7 is a lot.
Yeah, you can't. It would be 4 in 7 if we lost.
We lose 2 one season under Podge.
2
games.
Only 2 games. No,
or maybe it was a bit more.
No, surely we'd have won the bloody league.
In 16-17, did we not lose 2 games?
No,
we certainly didn't lose. We certainly didn't lose at home.
Sorry, 4.
We lost 4 games.
It's a lot. I was actually looking. I don't know why I do this to me, but I think we've lost 29 Premier League games since the start of 2022. Right. Arsenal have lost 11.
Why are you doing it?
I just wanted to see the difference.
I don't. And go back
29 in 82. That's a lot.
Well, we are losing quite consistently double-digit games. I think if we get to the end of the season, we'll end up losing 12, 13 games out of 38 quite comfortably. And we're not going back to the leadership point made before. I don't feel like there's that real desire not to lose.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No. I'm not saying in terms of the players don't care. They do care. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm saying that absolute will to not lose and fight for everything to not lose, and that's that little extra percentage. Or maybe they just ran out of steam yesterday.
I think that's
and we are.
They played like they wanted to lose that game.
No, I think they.
No, obviously,
I think that we are. We've got a team there where actually not many of them are experiencing Premier League European football, and it takes it out of you, and it will take time to build up from that, and also time for the manager to understand who is going to who recovers well.
It's how you learn from those defeats. That's the one thing I said on Twitter last night was I don't really have anything to say other than it's how you learn from those defeats. All right, we've kind of done it. I will say this, on the international break, at 2-0 up yesterday, I was so annoyed that we had an international break that was going to ruin our flow. And now I think I'm delighted that I don't have to go through this for another 2 weeks. And we all need some time off after yesterday.
International break should always be welcome to Spurs fans, regardless.
As long as they all come back.
God,
fit and well.
No, I can't stand it. It's
the international break.
Solanke in the England squad, we've not mentioned them.
We did on Friday.
Oh, we did? Oh, was it already come out?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm addicted to Spurs, and it's an addiction that kills me, and and I hate it, and I'm still
I did get a message from someone, reporter Danny Jameson, during the Carabao game, actually, when like Carabao were knocking on the door and they missed that penalty. He was like, "How have Spurs not killed you yet?"
And but it's true, and that's why these international breaks, I'm sort of wandering around the house. What do I do with myself? I can't get excited about England. I do get excited about England, but at these points of the season, you can't get that excited about it. And I'm missing my dopamine hits. I'm sort of don't know what to do with myself. And I need.
I remind you of that when West Antonio's running around like Pele.
You might not have the buzzes, but you don't have the stress.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there next Saturday and you don't know what to do with yourself, just think,
I'm not stressed.
In 7 days' time, you'll be stressing over West
Ham. I'm carrying this defeat for days. Trust me.
That's what I said to you, because I didn't watch it live. It hasn't struck me that way. Right. The other thing I want to say is we recorded a brilliant interview with Spurs legend on and off the pitch, Mickey Hazard. He said in that interview, "I was born to play for Tottenham Hotspur," which I think really stuck with me. That's going to go out as an episode on its own later in the week. We don't have another guest to talk to because we haven't got a game to preview, and you guys have spoken enough this week. Always a reminder, find us on Twitter at EOGTHFC, same on Instagram, on TikTok, Gary's favourite platform at Echoes, ECHOESTHFC. As I always say, you like, subscribe, become a member. We've had more members this week. I think the live show went really well. We're going to do more live shows. We've got the live shows after Europa League games. We're thinking of doing more live shows, so that will be coming up. As I say, like, subscribe, maybe put your hand in your pocket, Levy, and become an Echo of Glory member. Help us out here at the wonderful Launchpot Studios. Until then, we will be back next week to preview West Ham, their cup final, early cup final for them in mid-October. Gentlemen, you're frowning at me.
I'm just thinking, we always bloody lose before an international break. Every time.
You say this every time.
But it happens every time.
No, but these are
losing before an North London derby and international breaks. Every time. It's just like...
What was the last game? Hang on.
It was Newcastle.
It was
the same feeling. We should have won that game. It's every time.
Side.
It happens every time we lose before an international
last
break.
Season we didn't.
Well, no, last season we were doing well.
So every time this season. All right, gentlemen, enough of that. Thank you for joining me, Ollie and Jake, and we'll see you soon. And up the Spurs.